The topic nautical tourism as an underutilized economic opportunity that can drive significant growth for Sri Lanka tourism industry. Why I'm saying that? In economics, everything is related to demand and supply. Now, when we look into nautical tourism developments in different countries, and we look into the demand pattern, then we can see the clients on the demand side who possess luxury yachts. They are millionaires and billionaires. So when it comes to demand and supply, and we look at Sri Lanka, where nautical tourism could be an ideal opportunity for development, having in mind that we have 1,300 kilometers pristine beaches, but we do not have a single marina of that nature, what we, for example, have. For example, have in Croatia. Croatia is a good example for Sri Lanka, where you have 600-kilometer coastal line, and in each 10-kilometer distance, you have one marina. In the Mediterranean, there are a lot of Europeans who are parking their luxury yachts in these marinas, and they are keeping them throughout the year. So they are cruising around during the summer times, and when the summertime is over and the winter time, then these yachts have to be maintained. You have dockyard business, and you have a fantastic source of additional income. That's what we have talked, and the experts here before have talked about that. But I wanted to show you a little more. We have also Maldivian friends here, I believe, Maldivian experts. And in our in the neighborhood of Sri Lanka, we have not only India, Maldives, other neighboring countries who are entertaining marinas, and they have detected that for many years as a very lucrative source of income. So when we keep in mind that in Sri Lanka we have about 1,300 kilometers pristine beaches, there is an ample opportunity to build marinas, but not necessarily only in these locations what had been indicated by my previous speakers. You might also consider places which is driven by demand from investors. Now, I remember a couple of years before I had 2 requests for setting up a marina, not in an existing, together with an existing fishery harbor. They had an eye on an independent location, and they were focusing on another additional component which should probably be a part of the marina build-up, and we call that mixed development. So when a marina is built and you enter into the mindset of these luxury yacht owners, it's not that they are cruising around the whole time on their boats. They land, they park their yacht, and then there is a second part happening. That means they seek accommodation. In a mixed development and a marina, these are 2 things which we have found out on the demand side is necessary. So when we think of developing marinas in Sri Lanka, then most probably a mixed development project should go in line with the marina itself. When we look to the most famous marina in Monte Carlo, you have birds and boat owners. They have to pay an annual fee not less than $1 million per annum. But for these clients, $1 million per annum for boat is not necessarily a big amount. They don't think of $1 million. That is nothing for them. I am thinking now of Mr. Damike Pereira, who's the chairman of this hotel. You have already a casino close by. Now, once you have a marina here, developed further, there is exactly that pattern. The only thing, the marina should have a berth for 30, 40, or 50, or 60, or even 70 meters luxury yachts. That is also a component if you want to tap the super rich, the 1%, what we say on the high end. So if you think of marina building in Sri Lanka, keep in mind mixed development, and then also on the high end, do not exclude the super luxury yachts. As this picture shows, there is a marina built in the open sea. There is also something, no? So it's not necessary only that you consider existing natural harbors, which of course has tremendous advantages because you have already a setup. Think also of getting projects off the stage by building them into the open sea. The technology for this is available, and we don't have to invent the wheel again. It is like in all the other countries, the aspect of protecting the environment is considered. Almost in all the countries where marinas are existing, they have the same challenges as what we would have here if we enter into this. And there's a lot of knowledge which could be gained from the experience of other countries. So I think that could be a good step. A vision for the future: how can we develop nautical tourism in Sri Lanka? And the speakers before mentioned it brilliantly. The public-private partnership program is exactly that, what might be the most recommendable step to go forward, because to build marinas you need the ocean. With the ocean you have the government on board, and investors will come again if we look after their demand patterns and we can satisfy with solutions. To invest in these projects and attract international marina operators. And here is again, there are marina operators worldwide in action, and we could tap the knowledge, the experience, and also the cooperation of these marina operators. In the second step is the importance of government policies that encourage an investment in marina infrastructure and support for maritime tourism. A combination of fishery harbors and the location of marinas at the same place is a good solution, and it has a sociological, empathic approach, but it bears certain risks. The research what we have done and surveys what we have done in respect of demand patterns, there are investors who would prefer to have a marina and a marina only, not necessarily to be integrated in a harbor, in a fishery harbor. We can give that a second thought as well. The third part of boosting Sri Lanka's global profile, creating tax incentives, and the lady, the Director General of the BOI, mentioned that in her brilliant presentation. There is a possibility of giving tax incentives and also to streamline processes for yacht docking. And one aspect what I want to highlight is the applicants for special visas for nautical tourists. So that is a subject to be decided by the Department of Immigration, Emigration, and the superior government ministry in line. You might not, most of you might not have an issue with visas since you are Sri Lankan natives, or only a few people here who are coming from foreign countries. but the issuing of visas is a major obstacle in Sri Lanka. Still, it is. We are developing a project for senior citizens from Germany. These are all retired people who have seen Sri Lanka as a haven for retirement. They call it Sri Lanka, my second home. But these people, they are seniors, 65, 70, 75 years old. They are looking to Sri Lanka as a destination where they want to stay the rest of their life. They book accommodations for 20 years. So for these people, a special visa scheme is ultimately necessary. Peaceful people, elderly people who get their pensions transferred from Germany and other European countries, and that is the best what Sri Lanka needs. Sri Lanka needs, of course, a biological footprint. I remember when we had meetings with the previous tourism board officials, an ecological footprint, a biological was needed, but what Sri Lanka needs most is a financial, a fiscal footprint, what Sri Lanka needs foremost. Sri Lanka has a 100 billion US dollars outstanding debt to the IMF and to other collateral debtors. A 100 billion means $100,000 million. It's a huge amount. And with the new government came in place, that is on their shoulders. That is not an easy thing, because you have to pay interests. It's a highly complicated subject, but this government has to face a Herculean task to get these 100 billion one time written off. Usually the IMF dictates terms, and don't know when you will feel that, but in the past, social programs like Jana Savia, Samurdi and other programs, they were clearly indicated to cut down, increase the taxes. And the IMF is working or worked in Egypt. They recommended to increase the bread prices, resulting in a revolution in Egypt, breakdown of the government, and a new government came. That has to be kept in mind. Tourism is, I think, ranked in the third place with regard to GDP contribution. You have the apparel sector. They have strong competitions in all the countries. Very difficult to increase a twofold or threefold or even fourfold increment in production of apparels. Very difficult. Foreign employment is the second largest GDP contributor. But do you want to send all your people abroad, breaking families, having the fathers and the mothers working abroad and the children are here? You know, you have faced this situation, and that is in the long run not very favorable. Your families come first, but when foreign employment is needed and looks like on an increasing trend, then it is a hard social impact for families. Must keep in mind. In tourism, there is a solution, not only in nautical. In tourism, we can increase a fourfold. Now, when we had in the best times, we had 2.7 million tourists coming to Sri Lanka. What's the problem to increase it to 9 million? Then people come and say, my God, over tourism. Other people say, how can we bring them to the airport? We don't have the airport here. That's all true. These are obstacles. But when it comes to the airport, China is in a position to produce a turnkey airport within 6 weeks. They have the technology. Within 6 weeks, from nothing, they build an airport, turnkey. So these things are possible, and why I say so, tourism development, the demand and supply. Sri Lanka has the supply already in place. When people come, tourists come, you have fauna, flora, wildlife, heritage, beaches, you have everything is there. Maybe you don't have the accommodation. But if the first people stranded in the airport because there's no accommodation, you are very intelligent, Sri Lankan people very intelligent, immediately you will have accommodation. The small and medium enterprises, those homestays, small guest houses, they will spread out of nothing. When the demand is high, you have that. And my own experience, now I'm here for 40 years, as I said, I'm already nationalized, that's why I'm talking in the we term, not in your term, in my term, because I belong also here. Our seniors, they gave me a nice recommendation, I'm closing on that after that. The empathy level, what Sri Lankan people have, and Pierre Pringis, who's the real pioneer of Sri Lanka nautical tourism, he lives that as well. The empathy level of Sri Lankan people is extremely high and welcomed by foreigners. A survey what we have done in the airport with more than 1,000 tourists who had left Sri Lanka brought as a result that 80% of these people who have left, they said we were very happy with the warm, hearty treatment which we experienced from the Sri Lankan people. And the other 80%, they loved the food. So that means in the supply side, everything is there. The will to increase Sri Lanka tourism annual arrivals to 9 million tourists will solve your problem with the IMF, and the GDP will contribute. Then you are in safe waters. I don't know what I have next. Connect nautical tourism with cultural and ecotourism is exactly that, what the gentleman said, the professor who mentioned that very nicely, that tourism, ecotourism, and commercial tourism, that has to go hand in hand. Yacht stops that offer excursions to ancient cities, once we have the marinas around the island, wildlife sanctuaries, and coral reefs, and not to destroy these environmental things. Conclusion, urge the audience to view nautical tourism as a national priority. That would be great. An untapped sector that can provide economic growth and international prestige. And I say, now the time is good. Now you have a very strong, a very stable government, and you have professionals who understand. I noticed that you have lecturers, professors, engineers, doctors, qualified people in the parliament who have a 2/3 majority. So it's a good time to change things. And that's all what I want to say. I wish Sri Lanka all the best, and I think thanks to the organizers for speaking about blue tourism, I think it's the correct way. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Doctor. We would like to kindly have you back on stage. Dr. Dietmar, I would like to have you back on stage to hand over a token of appreciation. And to do the honors, I would like to invite Mr. Hamid Ashraf, Board Director of Sri Lanka Export Development Board. A round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, as we have Mr. Ashraf coming on stage and also presenting this token of appreciation to Dr. Dietmar Toering for speaking on the topic of nautical tourism for inclusive growth and opportunities in Sri Lanka. We are covered by the sea and we are a land of opportunities. Thank you, gentlemen.